2024 was a big year for me. It was the year I finally started working through all the political theory that had been collecting dust on my shelf. I spent countless hours serving my community, and I officially joined my local socialist organization. I still have so much to explore, but I feel like I've finally begun my political journey in earnest, and that is really exciting. But since I began documenting and sharing that journey on this channel, I realized there's a lot of leftists who are in the same place that I was just a couple of years ago, with a lot of passion and ideas, ready to make an impact on the world, but not really sure where to start, which made me wonder, what would I do if I had to start all over? If all the books I've read, all the experience I've gained, and all the people I met were erased in an instant, and I was back to square one as a new leftist, how would I grow? So in this video, I'm gonna share my blueprint for getting active as a new leftist. If I had to start over, this is the exact framework I would use to figure out where I should be focusing my efforts. Let's get into it. In the back of my mind, I always knew that I wanted to make change. The problem was I had no idea how to make the impact that I wanted to. And none of the creators that I was watching were any help. I mean, if you want endless debate, if you want to see people react to TikToks or recap the news, if you want to see flowery video essays, then the online left sure has you covered. But if you want practical guidance on how to make change and build power in your community, if you want actionable tips on how to become more effective as a leftist, good luck. So for years, rather than take action, I put it off. I was living what Carl Jung calls the provisional life. I told myself that my current way of living was just a placeholder until some undefined point in the future when everything would be different. Once I graduate college, once I move to a new city, I just have to wait until. The provisional life is insidious because it's so easy to justify. You will always be able to find an excuse. You will always be busy. You will never feel ready. But as I meet people who have been doing politics for longer than I have, I've begun to realize something. The thing that separates the leftists who take action from the leftists who don't is not that circumstances perfectly aligned for the action takers. It's that they found a way to do the work regardless of their circumstances. So when I look back, I realize I wasn't stuck because of my life situation. I was stuck because I had no plan and no idea where to begin. So if I had to go back, the first thing I would do is get very clear on my present situation. Specifically, I would ask myself two questions. What do I know and who do I know? Let me break both of those down. Question number one, what do I know? This is an internal assessment. Ask yourself, what are my skills? What have I read? What am I good at that other people struggle with? What am I drawn to? What have I accomplished? The goal is to map out your personal strengths and weaknesses so you understand where you'll be most effective. Question number two, who do I know? This is an external assessment. Ask yourself, do I have any like-minded friends who might be willing to join me on this journey? Are there any groups active in my area that I'm interested in joining? What problems are the people in my community facing? How do they view the world? Who are their leaders? Now, this analysis can take a while, don't get me wrong, especially the second part. Deeply understanding your community can take years. Regardless, if you're seriously ready to make change, I would urge you to get out a piece of paper and a pen and journal about these two questions to the best of your ability for a solid 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, if you do this exercise, you should now have a decently clear understanding of your capabilities and your local conditions. Now you can start devising a strategy to take action. Now, there's a million ways to get active, but they can all be broadly classified into 3 levels. Things you do by yourself, for yourself, things you do with others for yourself, and things that you do with others for others. This is what I call the action pyramid, and I'll break down each of the 3 levels for you. Level 1, solo service. This is work done by yourself for yourself. For example, next time you take a walk, you might grab a trash bag and pick up litter on the sidewalk or in an empty lot or in a park in your neighborhood. Chances are this won't have a massive impact in the world. In fact, probably nobody will even notice it. But that's the point. You're training yourself to take action and do the right thing without expecting a reward. Level 2, community service. This is done with others for yourself. For example, I've been working with Habitat for Humanity to build houses for the last couple years. At the end of the day, it's not going to challenge any of the structural forces that lead to homelessness or drive up the cost of living, but it has taught me how to work with people. Because I often get a group together to go do it, it has taught me planning and leadership and organization. Not to mention, I've learned a decent amount about framing houses in the process, so that's a win. Level 3. organizing. This is doing things with others for others. This is when you start coming together with people who share your politics. This is not charity work. You are there specifically to build power. Of course, you might live in an area without any existing organizations, which makes this step a lot harder. Thankfully, I'm working on a solution to that. More on that later. So there's my 3-tiered action system. Now, I just want to address some concerns up front, all right? Because every time I present this, I got some Lenin wannabe in my comments section saying, this guy's a liberal. He wants you to pick up trash instead of advancing the revolution. Which, fair enough. The goal is to build power, not to do charity. However, I do think service work can be helpful when you're just starting out, because it's going to give you this baseline of personal and interpersonal skills that are going to make you way more effective when you do start organizing for real. I intentionally lay out all 3 levels because I want you to be able to take action no matter where you are on your journey. So, action step, get out that sheet of paper where you wrote the situational analysis, because you did the situational analysis, right? And then below, I want you to write what level you think you're at and why. Please don't lie to yourself. There's no shame if you need to start out at level 1. By taking any kind of action, you'll be doing more than most people. So now you have the system. But here's the thing, it's useless if you're not going to use it. You need to get in the habit of taking action, which raises the question, what's the best way to build a habit? I'll give you a hint. It's not a hack or a tactic. It's much deeper than that. For example, if someone is trying to stop smoking, the person who says, no thanks, I'm trying to quit, when offered a cigarette, is much less likely to actually quit than the person who says, no thanks, I don't smoke. Now, why is that? It's because the guy who said, I don't smoke, thinks of himself as a non-smoker. The truth is, the strongest way to build a habit is to change your identity. And this goes for anything. If you want to get a promotion, you need to think of yourself as a professional. If you want to get good at weightlifting, you need to think of yourself as an athlete. And if you want to be an effective leftist, you need to think of yourself as a revolutionary. It's easy to think of organizing or politics as something that other people do somewhere else. But that's not true, is it? It's up to us to find a way to build power. Nobody is coming to save us. So now you understand how to do an internal and external assessment. You know the 3 levels of activity you can take on to get involved, and you understand the mindset that's going to allow you to stick with it over the long term. You just need one more thing: allies. You might think you're alone. You might think you're the only person in your area who thinks like you do. But believe me when I tell you, there are so many other people just like you who want to make a difference. The problem is, if we're isolated, we can never be effective. That's why I'm creating a platform where you all can talk to each other, strategize and connect, learn and grow with each other. I want this to be a one-stop shop for leftists who are looking to get serious about their political journey. If you want access to educational courses, weekly check-ins, and a dedicated community of other leftists who are on the same path as you, go click the first link in the description and download my free reading guide. In exchange, I'll get your email, and that way I have a way to reach you directly when this exclusive community launches. I hope to see you there. A better world is possible.